Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. My name is Diana Skaya. Anti-government protests have been rocking Serbia for 10 months now, sparked by the Novi Sad railway station disaster that killed 16 people. These protests are now fueled by anger and corruption, authoritarianism, and media repression. Clashes have erupted between police, ruling party supporters, and demonstrators have left dozens injured. Journalists are under attack. Now, President Aleksandar Vučić warns of consequences as the international concerns are growing. Now, the question is, where is Serbia heading and what is at stake? To answer this, I'm joined by President Vejvoda, Permanent Fellow at the Institute of Human Sciences in Vienna. Sir, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Now, Ivan, before we begin, I'd like to invite you to listen to a soundbite by Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić. Okay, it looks like we don't have the soundbite due to technical reasons. All right, so
I want us to talk together about the future of Serbia, because that is the best for Serbia. That is why I propose a TV debate on all televisions and portals with legitimate representatives of the student blockade movement, be it professors, politicians, or students. I am ready to enter into a public debate actually not against, my mistake, but with those who think differently because they have every right to demand it from their president, including discussions about elections and everything else. I will be ready to listen to them, not to win them in a debate, but to try together to do something for our country. It is time for everyone to show their face, but even more, to show their program.
Ivan, would you call his statement sincere, or is President Vučić really wanting a compromise? What is your take on that, on what he said?
Well, certainly this was an unexpected and surprising statement during the course of the day. After the statements that you mentioned of 2 days ago or 3, when the statement that he gave then was basically a threat of maybe greater escalation of repression. It's a bit of a roller coaster dynamic with now this extended hand for a debate. And I must say that immediately the various student groups and various opposition figures said that they have no intention with going into a debate with the president, given that the key demand of early elections has not been met, and also the other initial demand from back in November to reveal all the documents related to the reconstruction of the train station that led to the tragic death of 16 people. Many have also pointed out that in the 12, now 13 years of his stay in power in various positions, and in the past 7 years as president, he has not had any real TV debate with opposition or other figures. And so this is seen as a buying time tactic to be able to make decisions as to whether or not go for elections, when to go for elections, and how to, from his side, actually respond to this continuing determined and committed request of people to go back and make Serbia a state of the rule of law with separation of powers.
I just want to ask you, I mean, you mentioned there are a lot of things, of course, the protesters, and you're talking about documents, of course, that are not revealed also, but I just want to ask you, beyond Novi Sad, I mean, I'm looking at these images right now on screen here of these massive protests, but what else aside, beyond Novi Sad, what are these protesters demanding?
Well, exactly. As I said, the initial demand of actually revealing how the corruption led to the death of 16 people, because the price tag on the reconstruction was tenfold bigger than the actual price. The main contractor is a Chinese company, a subcontractor is a Hungarian company, and a lot of domestic subcontractors that obviously were putting money in their pockets and not doing the work that was required to actually do a proper job. This then, and behind that, immediately the students said, we want a return to the rule of law because we are in an authoritarian captured state where the institutions, whether it's the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative, are under the power of the single leader. And so these requests have been maintained throughout these 10 months. There were many predictions that this protest would subside over Christmas, over Easter, then over summer holidays. And we're seeing that every move of the government, in fact, only makes the movement, which is both a student and a wholesale civic movement. And I'd like to underscore the fact that this is not only the capital, Belgrade, and the two biggest cities, Novi Sad and Niš, but literally in all towns throughout Serbia. And maybe the protests are even stronger in the towns of the provinces of Serbia.
It's incredible how that's evolved, just like you said, in the past 10 months. But let me bring your attention to this now. I want to talk a little bit about the targeting of journalists. What is this actually telling us about press freedom in Serbia?
Well, one of the staples of a democracy is a free press, obviously along with freedom of association and human rights. And the fact that there are 4 national TV channels that are all controlled by the government, and that a 5th channel has never been assigned to an independent news outlet, which are seeing on cable TV, but they only reach about 30%. Obviously, a lot of people inform themselves through social media, through the internet, through the various platforms. But the regime and the president have been very fearful of the fact that there is independent news coverage, sometimes live coverage from all of these protests, and there have been attempts to curtail the freedom of the press, of journalists speaking out about the facts in Serbia, and thus there is now by various international journalistic associations, by various international organizations like the OSCE put out a statement today on the need to uphold media freedom. So we'll see how this evolves. Serbia is a society where people are used to being able to access information. And I think there will be, if there is an attempt by the government to further curtail, this will only make the determination of the protest stronger to achieve its goals of making Serbia again a dignified democratic society.
That was also my next question, but I believe you've answered it there, was do you think that the government would actually be able to also cut social media, certain applications and whatnot into to worsen this scenario? Let me ask you this. Do you think that the international community did enough or is doing enough to be able to protect those journalists in Serbia? Or if not, what do you think that other countries or EU nations can do to help?
Well, certainly many, as I just mentioned, several international media journalistic associations have put out warning signs, the OSCE in particular. I would like to point out the fact that 2 big European news outlets, the Financial Times and Le Monde of Paris, put out editorials of their boards warning that things were not going well in Serbia and that something should be done to subside the slide into further authoritarian behavior. Very clear messages where it was also said that the EU would be responsible if there is further deterioration of the situation if it does not speak out. I'm sure that through diplomatic channels, to use the colloquial phrase, behind closed doors, many warnings are being put out there. These warning signs are being made more public now. The Austrian Chancellor, Prime Minister of Austria, visited Belgrade about 8 days ago, and the Austrian press had leaked that he had come with a stern message to warn that it would not be good if Serbia went down that road. We must remind your viewers that Serbia is a full candidate to become member of the European Union, which it has not reneged, and repeats that Serbia wants to go forward.
And speaking about the European Union, how do you think that Serbia is skillfully balancing this act between the European Union and its ties to Russia?
Well, as I said, it's the strategic goal of the country. Declared goal is to join the EU, but in fact, in the past 3 or 4 years, it has not advanced in any way, and the European Union is aware that the reforms have not been achieved. With Russia, as you know, Serbia has been, through third countries, been making significant support to the Ukrainian defense by exporting weaponry. Russia, of course, has been aware of this and has warned Serbia lately about this. And this balancing act is, I think, at the end of the tether, very difficult to maintain both good relations and this strategic goal of joining the European Union. And we'll see in the forthcoming weeks how this pans out, if the situation remains as tense and critical as it is. And frankly, as the demands of the student and civic protests have been very clear, elections seem to be the way out. But the regime is not ready yet, because I think they're seeing through opinion polls that, of course, they do more or less every day, are not showing ratings in their favor.
Thank you so much, Ivan Vejvoda, Permanent Fellow at the Institute of Human Sciences in Vienna, for unpacking the unfolding situation in Serbia. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching.